So, with our few questions resolved, are there any others?
Is Silk brainwashed?
What?
I think we have any way to determine that one way or the other.
Just curious. Just for my own edification.
What?
Where is that coming from? Why is it coming from? And why haven't you shoved it back into wherever it came from? To paint the scene, to catch us up. The Piscateer's coterie, the cabinet of Senator White, have managed to stave off the immediate assault of the police on the grounds of the Piscateers. There are questions in the air because they've discovered a network of tunnels running from the Rosie 2 under the reservoir towards the Piscateers. They haven't managed to make it all the way into the actual space of the Piscateers, but certain members of the Dalton Police Department are now aware that there are tunnels exiting the Rosie 2. It is literally only a matter of time before they will send an exploratory team to investigate. Having caught members of the criminal-minded enterprises of Dalton in the middle of their actions and opportunities to do harm, they are calling the moment closed for now. That is, in fact, a full problem for your future selves. If and when Muzan relays that information effectively to you all, because right now I'm sure that the conversations had slipped by the conscious thought and consideration of much of the coterie in the moment. Him scaring.
We had already discussed it.
Yeah, him scaring off the police is it's fine. It's what he does. He's a scary individual. What that might mean in terms of the details of it, and you all making an actual plan, is still up in the air, because you made those plans, you made that suggestion, but there hasn't been any opportunity to act on them. So there is a surety that other things may come into view and cause them to slide down the order of operations of importance. One of those things being the arrival of Silk. Now, there is no way of phrasing it any lighter than Silk is an agent provocateur. Imagine if James Bond walked into your home in the middle of dinner. That's what Silk is. Their purveying of donors is a delivery system for what it is they actually do. They make things happen for the Roses, for the Toreador, for the Hedonists. They are the highest socially ranked and considerably most powerful Toreador in all of Garrett. But the fact that they are the most powerful in all of Gary is kind of like saying you're the head dung beetle of Timbuktu. Doesn't mean all that much for most people who are not in the real awareness of what that means. The other aspect, the delivery system that Silk uses to carry out their actual work, is the training and providing of donors who are trained to mitigate and minimize the loss of flesh, the loss of life due to the need of kindred feeding. There's something indescribably invaluable about having donors that are smart enough, wily enough, and able to give all of the needs of the beast to those who hunt them and still remain alive, so that you can do it all over again in a few days, in a few weeks, in a few months. And that product is what Zach made themselves at home amongst, what they played a little harshly with, what their beast ensured they captured the fullness of. But as we all know, there's no such thing as a coincidence. Everything happens for a reason, and everything happens all at once, and you have to decide what is the most important of all of the important things bombarding your immediate purview of the world. Now, with that setting in mind, with that sitting there before the coterie, Silk finally coming down the stairs, being invited into your space by your presence, with Zach unburdening themselves, with Dia seeing what on the average person standing would be an equal, but Dia knows that that is not exactly the case. Not exactly. It would never be anything put in front of any other non-hedonist. But there is some small dissonance in their social standings. Frost, having literally given himself over to his beast for the umpteenth time, to the distraction and lack of effective use to his coterie, will begin the night rolling a resolve plus composure. The difficulty, of course, being his bane strength. There's only so many times where you can subsume the man. So many times you can push what little grip of humanity you have to its limit. And being so emotionally connected and intertwined with the coterie, all of those shifting, varying levels of emotionality and trust and care and consideration and anger and all of those just heady things bombarding him in the midst of all of this. As Rick James, paraphrasing, would say, while cocaine is a hell of a drug, the gifts and curses of presence are so much worse. And speaking of presence, speaking of the allure of it and how addicting it is, as one of the few completely and mindfully aware as to where the coterie is, what is actually taking place with this current version of his pack, Muzan is once again in the presence of someone with an aura of almost complete entrancement. And for the second time, with dealing with someone outside of his pack, there isn't the immediate, instinctual, responsive fear. There's no looking down their nose at him. And that's a dangerous thing. Because his hideously scarred visage was a double-edged sword that he had grown accustomed to wielding. If that weapon is deprived of him, while he has several backups and several other abilities, it is an interesting state to exist in, especially with the heady fallout from all of the fall adrenaline, all of the hunting, all of the blood still freshly stolen in his system. So, with those ideas out there percolating for us, I'd like to thank you all for being here. I'd like to thank you all for sharing this time with me and exploring these characters' lives. So if there are no further questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off, I'd like to say that this is officially In the Shadow of the White City, Season 6. The title of tonight's episode is The Silk of Our Nakedness. And we will start anti-alphabetical.
I just need to remember where exactly we... Okay. Okay, so... For the moment... Zach is waiting until he's certain he has Silk's attention before speaking. And if he does not have Silk's attention, he's willing to wait until he does before discussing his concern with her.
There's a certain wariness that comes from being kindred. From most kindred. It means you're taking the fullness of the situation. You know where you stand. You know the best lighting to avoid notice, to slip from view. However, that has never been Zach's strong suit. Zach is a performer. Zach has an addiction to the adoration and attention of others. Unfortunately for Zach, he is not the only one. Zach is not the only member of the hedonists present. So while he affects the just the right amount of distance, just the right amount of standing, making sure the light frames his hair accurately enough that his hair seems slightly aflame with a small halo and corona effect happening, the light behind him causing his features to stand out. All of those many small things that members of the clan do unconsciously to catch the eye, attention, and curiosity of others is replicated by both Silk, her entourage, and Dia. And it is without any stretch of the imagination that the entirety of those present are fully within the view of Silk. They, as a unit, as a group, as a cadre, as a sea of potential adoring persons, have her attention. She is aware of each of them, and like all politicians and celebrities, her attention doesn't come cheaply. So while she knows you are there, it's up to you to make you worthwhile for her.
What are we waiting for?
Yeah, I'm just catching up here for a moment. And I believe Silk asked if there was a place to speak quickly so she could get elsewhere. I think that's where we left off. Zach having not spoken just yet. I don't know if I'm confused or just...
No, I don't think Zach said anything yet. I think he had planned to say something when Silk came in. Then Silk spoke first, and you rolled, and then the storyteller asked her what you're planning on doing, so you're trying to catch her attention. If she's not looking at you, then you're not going to go out of your way to catch her attention. That's what I heard. I think that's pretty much where we're at right now.
All right, so with Zach having stated already, and what sat there before Silk spoke was so good to see you. There's actually something I need to talk about with you, but I'll wait until other affairs are discussed. To which Silk responds, "It is always a pleasure seeing you all. Though in this case, pleasure will have to wait. Is there a place we can speak hurriedly enough that I may find my way to my haven here, within the lovely, warm, inviting climes of Dalton?" And with that sitting before the coterie, Zach catching the light, making sure he looks as outstanding as possible. The current situation laying before the coterie, the night nearly over. Seth choosing invisibility, but with that statement still hanging before the coterie, what is it that he's actually doing? So as Seth disappears from social standing, and Muzan hearing that exchange and seeing Silk standing here in the Biscuiteers, what is it that's on your agenda?
Muzan is right now trying to maintain composure, as bad as he is at that. But he's basically looking to Dia for the response, because he understands that Silk would most likely be here for her, and he doesn't want to say anything that would indirectly hurt Dia's station.
Be so kind as to go ahead and roll your resolve plus composure for me. And while that roll is happening, Frost, there's no amount of victory that you feel. It feels as if you have literally gone 15 rounds outside of your weight class, and you have lived and survived to the ringing of the final bell. Between all of the heady emotions and the guilt circulating in the air and the pumped up adrenaline and the adoration, and that's the part that drives home that blade all the cleaner. There's honest, actual, dare you say, adoration, love, the feelings of actual love, not just lust, not something as simple as a physical need to separate someone from the rest of their lives, not the typical kindred adoration, but the full weight of that heavy emotionality in the air amongst the coterie. And as every eye flicks from Silk to Dia to Zach to Dia to Silk to Zach, what is it that Frost is doing?
Standing back, trying not to make a fool of himself.
Excellent. Be so kind as to go ahead and roll your resolve plus composure. And No, that was for his
clear.
This is for him to maintain his facade of, oh, this is just another Tuesday. This is perfectly fine, perfectly normal. Everything's perfectly silky smooth. Because as you make that roll, it is clear that Muzan is as uncomfortable as you can be in this situation. There's enough wattage in this room via presence, social standing.
Okay.
What was that?
Their difficulty or dual, I just roll as high as I can.
Roll as high as you can.
Got it.
There's
Oh,
enough
shit.
wattage in this room to burn you physically. And Muzan, that what is a formerly human nervous tick that Muzan had? Because that's what would be showing now. Because there is literally enough presence in this room, and he's now uncovered. He's unhidden by the shadows. He's not the scary voice in the dark. He is not the imps and goblins that exist in the world to make things disappear. He is seen. He is there. People know him for him, and for the first time in a very long time, it feels as if there's nowhere to hide.
A nervous tick he'd have would be his right arm grabbing or scratching around his left shoulder and collarbone, kind of like trying to close himself off from other people. Another tick he might also be doing is rubbing his hands together, basically alternating between the two. The hands one I know is not originally his.
Yes. And with all of these things happening, as Muzan for the first time seems not quite the Super Saiyan that he had been. He seems plussed versus his usual non-such a state. Frost is leering as if he could not even or could not ever be bothered by the sheer star power in this space at this time. His toothy, fang-riddled grin is that of the oldest, strongest bully in a cul-de-sac of cowards. He is literally the cock of the walk and the head popinjay that there is. There is none better, none to challenge him, and there's nothing any of these plebeians could ever do. If they even thought about dreaming about the idea of it, he would reach into their nightmares and beat them across the face with it. These people mean nothing. This weight of social pressure is a joke. And with all of those emotions sliding left, right down the pike, all over, and yet contained solely within the weight of the unbeating hearts of the coterie.
Fucking love of God, man.
Dia, what is it that you are doing?
Dia keeps her composure. Her face is very stoic at the moment, and she leans forward and it's closer to Silk, but not like all up in her personal space, but just close enough so that it's conspiratorially seeming. Of course, darling. Come. We'll get a private table in the back, and we can talk about whatever it is you need to talk about, and get you out of here quickly so that you might go to your morning's rest, wherever it is you have chosen to make your haven. Please come this way. And she turns and...
Wherever? Come now, I'm sure you are aware. Arzuli has effectively managed to buy out a few of your competitors. She has entered into negotiations with Decibel and received, as per her usual skill at stroking dragons' egos, a parcel of land to which she has begun building, well, quite a few things. But I just thought that you should know. I thought that you should be aware that east of the Bishop Ford, all the way to the state line, you will have a sister in arms, all of Burnham and Calumet City. But we could talk more in details. Lead the way.
As she turns away from Silk, ponytail very much swinging behind her like a cape. Anybody who sees Dia from the front could see that her jaw tightens and she's like clenching hard. Because one, that was a slap in the face. And two, what the fuck? Decibel's helping Urzuli. Even though she loves Urzuli to pieces, why the fuck would you help somebody that could be in direct competition with me? That's on her mind right now. So there is a seething anger bubbling underneath the surface. But of course, it would be untoward to show that. So is cheerful and of course, yes, please. And gets to, she's not gonna go into the secret room. That's nope. Silk doesn't get to know about that. No, thank you, man. But like the backmost table where the patrons to not really go, that's where she's gonna take her, as long as there's enough room for everybody, and offer her to sit down. Do you have time for maybe a drink before, we speak, or would you just like to get to business?
But of course, I would love a drink. It has been a very long time since I've seen Joanna, Eric, and Lucy.
Do I know which of the two that killed are those two of the two that she just asked for, or are they somebody else?
So as you all make your way to the table, and she lists off a few names. Favorites of hers.
Yeah. Looks to Seth. And if she could turn green, she would. But she... Oh, Lucy should be around somewhere, but I'm afraid that the other two are indisposed. They did a feeding recently and wouldn't be up to donating again this evening. I'm so sorry. Is there anybody else, maybe?
That is a shame. They are by far the most skilled. Not that I ensured you had poor merchandise, my dear, but they were Tyvan's favorite, and with him being indisposed, I thought that I might have the opportunity of supping with my child's favorites.
Okay, so Leah, knowing the stock and knowing what she just asked for, would try to pick a suitable substitute for the two that she couldn't offer. Then she's looking very pointedly at Zach. All this is going on, and then kind of stands behind Zach and, before she takes her seat and leans over. like she's, I don't know, making it look like she might be giving Zach a kiss on the cheek or something like that. And turns her mouth to the ear. Say nothing of what you have done this evening. She's testing you. Those were her favorites. And then smiles again and pats him on the shoulder and goes to sit down next to wherever their space after asking the house mom to bring Lucy and the other person she picked.
Excellent. Would you be so kind as to roll your wits, your dexterity plus subterfuge to see were you completely as successful as you had hoped in hiding your intentions and what took place in the last few moments of exchange. Now, as that roll is happening, with everyone being at the table and near at hand, while this bit of chicanery, verbal and social and physical, is being carried out by Dia, what is it that everyone is doing?
Seth is drawing maps in his head. He knows where Calumet is. Far outside of the political landscape that they had been dealing with before. And it's not okay.
Muzan, knowing that he's not really much use to Dia in this situation.
No, it's directly in his bailiwick because Thornton Township ended in a certain place before. What she's describing extends it almost all the way to Northside, headed towards Gary. I mean, that's a big chunk of real estate. That is a massive shift in the amount of landscape the Bahari had been talking about before. And if Decibel has decreed that Dia's claims are no longer protected under the Thornton Township agreement, it's ugly. He's running the numbers, and there's no part of the numbers that look okay. So this whole Azula connection is a problem. And he's trying to remember Naomi's phone number. That's his big push right now.
The Muzan is going to lean over to Dia and just ask, so I don't know if I'm gonna be much use to you here, so what do you want me to do? I can get refreshers, or I can just stand guard outside the door, or just check on the girls if you need.
Actually, the best bet right now would be we needed taken care of in the tunnels. That is possible, because I don't want to leave it till tomorrow evening and have them explored by the way.
On it. I'll follow up with you afterwards. And Muzan will head back to the tunnels to do cleanup duty.
Zach, Ross. while these small
And-
side conversations are happening. Silk and her retinue, her entourage, settle in. It is amazing to notice how individual each of them are, how color coordinated the entire group is. It's almost as if they left wherever they were previously with the idea of highlighting that this is Pride Month. They are each festooned and colored in each of the shades and hues of the flag, of the rainbow. Except for Silk herself, which is a study in whites and creams.
Is feeling a little thirsty. When at the mention of a drink, he will follow.
And Zach, having heard what Dia just said, keeps quiet for the moment and is basically just sitting there looking pretty.
Seth is standing nearby, looking not pretty.
Seth is pretty in his own right.
Not tonight, he's not. There is no part of what she just hinted at that is good for anyone.
It seems as if our conversation is proceeding fairly behind schedule. You have already dismissed your warlock. You have already silenced our lovely musician. And your outlander looks as if they need to be walked as well. Is there something not quite amiss?
Well, actually, we had a little bit of a scuffle here this evening, but it was handled quickly, and they are just a little bit on edge, and we are making sure that there are no embers or sparks left restart anything before you arrive or while you're here.
Oh. So you are connected with whatever that was across the reservoir, all of the police lights and EMTs that were loitering the night sky. And it was such a lovely view on our way in. We went by our Tyven's former location and made sure that security was up to standards. We'll be taking over the jewelry store as well.
Unfortunately, yes, things got a little raucous. Zach owned the club at one point in time, and we are attempting to set it right after some misbehaviors of the previous owners.
I almost understand. I understand that that Drew is no longer amongst us. That is a shame. Him and Tyven enjoyed quite a few moments, which is one of the reasons for Tyven's sabbatical to Indianapolis. The poor thing was so heartbroken, knowing that, by his definition, the last decent toreador in the area had disappeared under such mysterious circumstances as well.
There is really no mystery there. His choice of lovers was his undoing. Jack left him alone, and the girl he stuck with wasn't best choice in that situation. She dragged him down and nobody was there to save him.
That is a shame. So you are in the know as to what became of him?
Well, we had attempted to mend fences and were supposed to meet him at a private location. We arrived, he wasn't there. It was somewhat of a drama that's happened, and I haven't seen him since then, so I would assume it had something to do with that evening when he wasn't there when we arrived.
Oh, that is a shame entirely. Zach, and how did you get on with moving beyond Drew? I hear that he had a certain oratory skill that is sorely missed.
Well, certain new connections that I have formed are filling in the void rather nicely. And when he says new connections, he casts his eyes to each of his fellow coterie members.
Oh my, so it is true. Dear, you old dog.
Wait, what? I seem to have missed something.
Oh, no. I don't mean to say that what we have is exactly what Drew and I had.
Oh.
I'm just saying that an emptiness has been filled.
I do miss my mortal days when such emptinesses were often filled. It would have been far less scandalous in today's day and age for such things to take place, but whatever gets us through the night after it is all said and done. My original reason for coming, and thank you so much for the aperitif, dear. It is nice to see that you are keeping our agreements and keeping the stock and merchandise well appointed. Lucy is tasting a bit sad. I won't pry what scandals you've managed to get them up to. But with my arrival and taking up residence here in Dalton, within Senator Permigen Stewart's domain, is there something or anything that I might need to know to better appease our little blue blood?
Well, I hate to drag you into this, but unfortunately, it seems that your new friend, Sybil, has quite irritated with me, as it would to say, because I asked me for a favor and I decided not to do said favor. It pissed him off. Guess he's one of those men who doesn't like to be told no. But anyway, so I told him no, it pissed him off, and now he has supposedly removed protections from my lands, declaring a free-for-all for whoever may step in and attempt to take it, which is why things might get a little rough.
Yes, but if rumors are to be believed, you all are sufficiently capable of protecting what is yours, after all. And I'm sure, between myself and Urzuli, if the matter comes to it, that we may be able to offer assistance. Urzuli hasn't quite regained their former standing, but soon, if you can forestall whatever attacker, competitor, better, might seek your domain, I'm sure that we might be able to assist.
Indeed, it was more just an axe to what was going on, and that is a major going on, indeed. But no, I do feel as if my coterie and council have me well in hand, keep what is mine. So
If Zach's assertions are anything to be noticed, I'm sure that you have them each in hand at various orifices and well appointed to keep their loyalty well seated with you. It's not as if either of them would engage in actions or activities that would bring shame to your name, correct?
Early assertions of physical things that might be going on are not indeed true. I am not that sort of woman, mind you. Not that there's anything wrong with that sort of woman, but it's not my particular taste of things to do.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that they don't meet your taste.
But side of that, people are grown and will do as they must do or do as they do. I entirely try to guide those around me in more like a motherly hen way. Sometimes the children get rowdy and do their own thing and need to be punished after the fact.
Yes, I do so love those documentary training films that I've found on such sites as they are quite enjoyable. It seems as if I'm prattling on and keeping you when matters considerably more important. Now that my extension of notice has been given, I suppose that it would be best for me to leave you all to whatever it is you may or may not be getting up to. In light of your managing to alienate the Voivod of the South. If I may ask, what exactly was the favor?
Mind you, but it was to retrieve a book from somebody else's residence while they were not at home. Basically, he was asking to steal from somebody that he knew and bring the book back to him. Bravery is obviously beneath me, especially if I don't get to keep what it is I'm taking. So I had told him quite politely that I declined.
I see. So even having the services of an Orlock, it was something that was beyond your ability. I understand completely.
There's a difference between abilities and desires. I had no desire to between him and whoever the book originally belonged to.
I completely understand. You do not have to explain. I completely am with you. It's beneath you. And something that you would much rather engender enmity over. After all, we all draw our lines in the sand and declare others to knock whatever it is on our shoulder off. And as she says this, she reaches across and plucks a small little bit of dander from your lapel, flicking it away, a small bit of fluff of nothing, a bit of fabric from, well, you remember what it's from. though you would rather not say at the moment. The scorched edges of it making it seem as if it is a bit of someone's pattern instead of the residue and remnants of a gunshot wound and the small bit of splatter of someone else's blood. But she doesn't seem to notice or care as to where it might have come from, or the slightly singed, burnt scent sticking to it. But I wish you luck, Dia. I look forward to whatever may happen. And I, as a member of our honorable, upstanding clan, I thought that I might be able to importune your hospitality for one last bit of a meal. Some small sustenance before sunrise. I look forward to being your neighbor, as I'm sure so too does Urzuli. I will see you around, my dear friend.
Yes. May you reach your haven in all safety and due time. It's a pleasure seeing you again. And you will stand and motion back towards the stairs.
The pleasure has been all mine. You are such a lovely example of our clan. I look forward to all that will come due. And as she mounts the steps, looking very much like Evita, or very much like the Queen Mother herself, the change in the environment, the lifting and cooling of the air is noticeable. Draws along with skin. And if you were breathing, and if you were blushed, you'd feel the coolness in the air. As it stands, is more of an emotional, spiritual weight moving as her entourage climbs the stairs, with her bidding everyone adieu. Oh, remind me to add you to the list of notable, important persons for the grand opening. See you soon.
Miss it for the world.
And as Silk leaves, and Frost witnesses, and Zack watches, and Seth intuits, Muzan, while all of this is in the offing, while all of that verbal skullduggery was in the offing, and Dia rolls her wits plus politics to see exactly what was said and all of that, if she doesn't have ideas of her own. Muzan, what is it that you are attempting to clean up in the tunnels, besides the bodies left there?
So, in addition to cleaning up the bodies, Muzan is also making plans to collapse one of the tunnels. He's trying to gauge which area would be best to bring it down where it would cause the least amount of inconvenience for the Pisketeers, while also severing it from the rest of the tunnels, because the police will be back, and if they do, they will discover the connection from the Rosie to the Pisketeers, and that's going to spell all kinds of trouble. So while they have this chance, they have to take the time to separate the two and cut their losses, and Muzan is now just trying to find the best spot to do it from.
There lies a thing about doubling back on an evening. therein lies the very real problem with analyzing things from a separate angle. You all have captives, people who inadvertently chose the wrong person to follow that evening. You all have bodies, having suffered the same fate. You all have what anywhere else would be considered a breach on your domain because of the actions and activities that took place in the Rosie 2. And while not physically part of the Pisketeers, is wholly 100% within Dia's domain. There's no other way of looking at this mess, analyzing this tunnel, analyzing those who made it into it and how to cut it off from the rest of the tunnels, the rest of the honeycomb that lead to the Pisketeers at the Rosie 2. A multiplicity of incidents took place. A conflagration of chaos happened. And therein lies the thing. While Zach has gone out of their way to make sure that the Rosie, which is really the Rosie 2, and the Rosie 2, which is really the Rosie, has its own vibe, its own space. Gone are all of the patchwork security activities and actions of Sasha. Gone are all of those little telltale Ventrue-esque things, such as security cameras and the like. However, no one needs security cameras these days. We are all surveilled by our own choices, by our own devices. And there were several dozens of baker dozens of people in the Rosie while you all did what you did. There were several dozens of baker dozens of individuals with surveillance devices in their hands, on their hips, in their presence, as you all on a multiplicity of incidents and moments unveiled just how monstrous the world is. Zach rarely blushes unless, of course, he knows he is going to meet humans. Seth currently even blushed. Very much looks as if he is strung out on heroin to the point where not having it in his system for longer than 3 seconds would be a death sentence. And let's not even begin to analyze Frost or yourself. Adding to all of that, the other kindred who were blushed, who did blend in with the sheep, and you all slaughtered them and left the bulk of them to be bodies removed. And as you are analyzing the tunnel and listening to the vibrations of the building, the tromping feet, the sirens, the pictures, the noise that accompanies an active crime scene, right above your head in the Rosie, all of it comes due. All of it hits your awareness at the exact same time.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding the situation. So I hear the commotion inside the Rosie, is that right?
Yes, it is still an active crime scene. There's still forensic evidence being collected. There's still score upon score of police and EMTs and grief trauma counselors present. There are all manner of humans who have formerly thought they would be able to sleep the night away because they had a difficult day ahead of them next, being called in, being summoned, demanded their appearance. The Rosie is a crime scene.
So with that in mind, collapsing the tunnel right now is a bad idea because that's just going to draw attention back to the tunnel with all the commotion that would pause. And the noise would absolutely be heard throughout the tunnels.
Yeah.
So instead, if Muzan's already taken care of the bodies down there, he's going to throw up unseen passage and try and head up to the Rosie just to scout out the situation and see just how worried about this they need to be.
Wait, so are you just going to throw up unseen passage and just stroll down the middle of the corridor, or are you going to use stealth and slink along as if you may need to avoid notice?
Stealth as well.
Excellent.
Muzan is aware that disciplines are not as absolute as we wish they were, and he always tries to not rely on them completely. Always have a backup plan in place, essentially.
Alright. That being the case, go ahead and roll your resolve plus stealth plus obfuscate. DC3.
Muzan gets hungry. Resolve, stealth, and obfuscate, you said?
Yes.
And obfuscate is adding dice or a flat bonus?
Adding.
Well, I'll be damned.
There is a certain weight of risk inherent in making yourself not there, making yourself beneath notice and completely invisible to the eye, as far as anyone's aware of. The fact that there are so many humans, so many police officers, so many EMTs, and so much activity above, there's always one in some crowd that has the wherewithal to see through the illusion of the world and see that there are monsters abounding. Muzan bites back that natural fear because of what he would need to do to ensure his escape if that were to happen, and goes forward with the plan. Entering back into the Rosie, amidst the circus that is an active crime scene, he sees sheets covering a few of the bodies that you all dropped in your night out on the town. He sees investigators and officers of all stripe for the Dalton Police Department. You are sure that they have every available officer plus 5 or 6 more that were not available currently active at the scene. Dalton is not a city. Dalton isn't a town. Dalton is a village, and its police force, while larger than every other nearby village except for Harvey, is not inexhaustible. And yet, herein are several dozen, many of which look as if they are community volunteers and community patrol agents in less than official police. Yet it's an all hands on deck. And everything's proceeding as chaotically as he has expected and grown accustomed to with police crime scenes, except for standing there in the midst is Police Commissioner Stevens of Gary. On his
recognizes?
Yes. Muzan recognizes Police Commissioner Stevens because not too many decades ago, Police Commissioner Stevens was Detective Stevens of Gary. He is the only recognized student of the illustrious Dane. The only human hunter that had caused even Prince Loden to fear. It was one of the many reasons while Chicago enjoyed and exploited the suburbs as a break point for Gary. It was one of the many reasons why Chicago nominally kept its hands out of Gary. You have a Leopold trained kindred hunter as part of their police force. And without access to the day, without access to any time except for the night, there was no telling what Detective Stevens actually knew, or who he spoke with, or who he trained. And then things shift because there's an older gentleman, close cropped hair, looks militaristic, walking in with a metal clipboard, standing just to the left of Police Commissioner Stevens. And judging by the patch on his shoulder and the fact that the color of his uniform is miles darker, maybe a blue or purple, you're not sure what color that actually is. This is just dark and not quite black. And how professional he seems. You know you've seen that name before. You know you've seen Theist. Can't remember exactly where. There's one of those things like Cream of Wheat or TikTok. You've never actually been on either, but you know they exist and you know they were or are popular, and you've seen Theists somewhere. You've never seen them in relation or connected with police, but lo and behold, that gentleman seems second only to Police Commissioner Stevens, ahead of even the Chief of Police for Dalton. And they are dressing down the scene, getting closer to overhear exactly what they are saying is phenomenally more risky, but you can push your luck if you so choose.
Yeah, I'm gonna push my luck.
So sparing a second to swallow down the unneeded saliva in your throat, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your dexterity plus stealth DC 4.
Am I allowed to blood surge my dexterity for this?
Yes, get hungrier.
And that he does. We are now at 2 hunger.
You get close enough to the 3 men at the epicenter of this whirlwind of police activities. You get close enough to realize that metal clipboard has the insignia of Saint Judas upon it. You get close enough to realize that the older black gentleman with the military haircut is clearly the person in charge. He is not making the others or praising the others of the scene. He is collecting information from them. The police captain of Dalton is literally saying, as you draw close enough to finally hear them, but you guys, Special Affairs Division, said we wouldn't have to worry about this. Literally, you had a guy undercover with these people, and we wouldn't have to worry about another scene like this. We don't want another Queen of Spades with you all running in with all of your fancy ARs and killing everyone and everything. We can't cover it up anymore. We've already had that one cover. We can't do another. Now calm down, says Stevens. Theus is not the same as the knights. They work together. Our commander here is literally going to implant a team of reconnaissance agents. We're going to find these terrorists and we're going to draw them out. Usually they bury themselves within the local fringe community. With all of the sightings that you've been feeding us and we've managed to make disappear over the last few months, look what they did to your men downtown. Do you want more of them running around? They recruit like cockroaches. The fact that you managed to get that video to us of those from your officers' police vehicles gives us an idea as to who exactly we're looking for. And there's no way that anyone with those faces can hide for long. Commander, am I barking up the wrong tree? No, we've already narrowed down a few of the local nightlife venues to peruse and patrol. We believe we sighted one of them this evening at a church not far from here. But when we have definitive information, we will move in and no one will be any the wiser. There won't be open warfare on the streets. There's just going to be disappearances. And as they talk back and forth, a few moments longer. Hey, sir, we've got definitive telltale signs and all of the right alleles here. This is probably a... And they're pulled away to one of the bodies. That was one. And as they pull away, we close our gaze back at the Pesketeers. The Toreadors speak when in public in such a way as to relay information to other Toreadors. There's always 3 levels of understanding what was said. The simple barbs, usually by way of cattiness. The hints that are left undivulged. And most importantly, the use of social standing. Things like RSVP or forgetting to invite someone somewhere. There's no other way to read all of the many levels of communication that took place between Silk and Dia, except for to say the party has been canceled. There is a lack of faith because of the attack, and it would require enacting official pathways to gain the assistance of others.
Silk is gone, right?
Yeah.
I just want to make absolutely sure about that. Okay. At this point, Seth comes out of his pocket dimension of not being noticed and steps into the central area of the discussion. Holy shit. Baron, and he skips on that word. Like, it takes him a minute to find it. Baron, you need to take an inventory very soon, very quickly, and very thoroughly of those around us. Because if they're talking about Calumet City, that extends the Thornton claim 4 or 5 miles east, almost to the edge of the Gary Township. What she's talking about isn't just a secondary home, it is a massive expansion. I don't know what your friend is up to, but I think we need to investigate it. Maybe not with the aggression we used in investigating the Rosie, but definitely we need to look at it because it is not good. The more Thornton grows, the more the White City notices. I cannot stress this enough. If the White City comes to investigate Thornton and finds it out of control, they won't send Toreadors and Nosferatu. They're going to send whatever Brujahs they have. They're going to send Tremere, and they're going to send Ventro. And they're going to stomp us flat. And Seth just leaves that sentence out for Dia, Zach, and Frost to take in.
Yeah, it's kind of, hold on. It's very quiet at the moment. You can tell she's listening, she's nodding at the appropriate time. She seems like she is miles and miles away right now. Kind of, face is a little pinched. It's highly unattractive. You shouldn't be doing it, but it's frustrated and flustered right now. Because Zach would probably understand what's being said. There's also the fact that he isn't really well versed in hidden Toreador language, but what was said as Soap was leaving is playing again and again in her head. And it was like even bigger slap in the face than anybody expected. So she's just sitting there. I think I've been snubbed. Party has been cancelled. So they're not having the salon. Okay. Then so even anything even worse, having the salon in the first place is having one cancelled. They can't count on you to be high quality enough a member of the Roses to even bother with coming to a salon held by you. If that's what she's saying, that means something has gone terribly wrong. Done something to make the other Roses upset. Something I don't know. I understand what you're saying, Seth. I hear that. And it's very bad, all of it. But
combination of the Tories pulling back from you, as well as Decibel granted huge swaths of land to your friends slash competitors? Could that all be one part of one big thing?
it's possible.
We fight differently. We fight dirty.
You don't.
Y'all fight
Backstab. Smile at each other's face. Yes, Decibel is very much stacking the deck in his favor, not making a direct attack. He is definitely using my friends, as you would say, to fuck me over. Knowing that they had already made plans move to this place. He's using the fact that they're moving here to show me that I am replaceable as a Toreador. As the town is only big enough for one of us sort of situation. And he is picking his side. That's not me.
So how do we prove that at the end of the day, you are the most effective Toreador? I mean, we killed the Tremere that was breaking the masquerade. We wiped out an entire network of drug dealers. How do we make that public? How do we make that important?
Getting that whoever was tied to that probably would not be quite happy that we stopped all of that from happening. We'd almost be taking on ourselves.
Well, we know your friend to the east or to the west wasn't part of it. We're pretty sure Naomi wasn't part of it. How can we use that information? We've got a vent through and your friend to the west. How do we push them to the fore and make... Because, honestly, your friend hasn't done shit since the Bahari have invaded. Since Carbonera showed up, the only group that has had any real interaction or any real power plays has been us. Even Decibel hasn't really done anything other than be scary and push people around. I thought you anarchs were good at this democracy crap.
I'm sorry. No one asked me to leave, so I just waited. But, Dalton's not Anarch. Yes, schmucks. In fact...
What is it? Is it fully Bahari now?
Nah. They weren't either. They weren't anything. They were and are in the pocket of Chicago. What was that, Zach?
How the fuck can we use that? Because I'm a Tower Vampire.
What was
and
that, Zach?
I was warned not to move my business down here because it wasn't Tower. I wasn't in the know. I get that. I understand. I'm not going to claim that I was in the know. But I moved my business down here thinking I could be a Tower Vamp and stay out of the center of crazy, stay out of the center of Dalton and Thornton. Even my business is 4 miles south.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what I missed. Tell me what thing I missed with a Bahari takeover and Decibel the Dragon Anarch running shit as if he owned it. Because
Are you serious?
I would love
Have you never played the shell game?
the ship game.
The shell game.
I've busted a few 3-card Monty guys
That's
in
close
Chicago.
enough. That's close enough. You got this illustrious, long-range, independent territory, right? Let's say that territory happened to be called something stupid like Alton. Everyone thinks that the independent territory is strong enough to be independent, creating the air of weakness against the big, overwhelming bully. We'll call that overwhelming bully Chicago. What no one realizes, the reason why Alton is independent is because Chicago is using them to draw all of their enemies in the open to take them out with assassinations. Alton is secretly the whole time fucking Chicago's peon until some magical jackass comes in and upturns the apple cart as it goes.
Assuming that I'm talking to Dancer, who is moderately to some level of invisible.
Yep.
So tell me this. Answer. If Dalton's a fake rebel enclave,
Was.
was a fake anarch enclave, what is Chicago planning now? Because they have a strong baron that could, and I'm going to use the ugly word, could claim praxis from their martial efforts as a tower member of their cabinet. What are they waiting for? Because we need to get this shit done. Carbonera is crazy as shit. Decibel is going fucking nuts. Is Decibel part of the tower conspiracy? Or is he just going nuts and we haven't noticed yet?
Is he going nuts? Let's think about this. He's been quietly collecting anarch barons, making them bend their knee. While everybody's watching you guys set people on fire, claim territory, cause all sorts of open warfare, he's been having her sneak around the dark and put her boot on other barons' necks, making them kiss his ring, making them become part of his Primogen Council. And when he collects them all, what do you think he's gonna do?
So you think the dragon is going to claim praxis?
Why wouldn't he?
That is a scary and deep fucking question. Why would he not? Dia, my Baron, I know you've always had problems with the fact that I align with the tower, align with the chantry. I follow my regent. With all the work we're doing, why aren't we thinking about praxis?
And who has the biggest target on the back in the room?
I'm about to get smacked, aren't I?
One in charge. Here's the first thing they tell you when you go to jail. Walk up to the biggest baddest
guy
motherfucker and hit them. Exactly. So what happens when you look like the biggest baddest motherfucker? People are going to keep testing us and attempting to punch us in the face.
But we are the biggest, baddest. There's nobody else doing more in Thornton or Dalton than us. We've punched the biggest, baddest multiple times. When are you going to set us loose and let us go after the dragon, his thug, his two little hangers-on? When are you going to cut us loose? Because honestly, at this point, that's all we have left. He's called off any protection that the anarch democracy allows for. He said, it's open season on your territory. So set us loose. Because I'll go.
And it's here.
I don't say it out loud, but
Zach pipes up. Are we ready to be set loose, though? That's the thing.
we have a werewolf, we have Muzan, we have me, and anybody who needs to be talked down, we have you. shut it, Frost. You turn into a 6-foot wolf. You're a werewolf. I mean, we have the core of a very effective and fatal group. We've already taken out a Tremere with 2 Toreador followers. I say we make connections with Naomi. I say we make connections with our neighbor to the west, the one we gave a bunch of land to. And I say that you take all of your skills, Zach and Dia, and deal with Azuli.
Now, the thing I'm going to point out is remember what Dancer just said about Chicago using Dalton as a buffer.
They're always going to use Dalton as a buffer. It's always going to happen.
The point I am making is that Decibel is doing the same thing. He is using us to weed out the stronger threats to him. That in the end, it's just us. The weak ones that we wouldn't go after sweep up. We'll be so tired fighting and keeping ourselves alive by the time that comes, we won't even see him coming.
And that's my point. Don't be the weak one left over. Don't be the last man standing. Find other people to go after Decibel. When Decibel is confused, distracted, then we stomp on him. There are Thin Bloods. There are K-Teeth. There's 2 or 3 more fucking Barons left. Let's make a coalition. Let's stomp on Decibel now, before he subjugates or bribes all the other Barons to his side. Vu and Felix, they were of broken allegiances.
One left of them. But there is no more Vu. Vu is dead. Felix is the only one living.
Vu is dead, but Felix feels that pain. Let's use the pain. Let's grab Naomi. Let's grab our neighbor to the west. Let's grab the Regency. Let's grab the Tremere and stomp on Decibel. Now, before he is subjugated or bribed everyone else. Because you can already see that Silk is being drawn away. If Silk is drawn away, the Piscateer dies.
The thing is, we keep pointing out our neighbor to the west. Our neighbor to the west was formerly Chicagoite. They are Baron, yes. Anarch, most definitely, probably.
It was formerly.
Only reason they don't like Decibel is because of what Decibel has done to their childhood. Otherwise,
So
I'm sure
we-
they'd get along.
So we use that hatred, that anger. I was a former Chicagoite. I was trained by Orin. My regent is a Tower Kindred of the main chantry of the Midwest. We can sell it.
It's fine. I understand which direction attempting to take this in. You forget. Alton, up to this point, did not want to be a Tower City any longer. We were declaring our independence from Chicago. So that is the point. That can't take it back or win people over by saying, think you guys, power is not your thing, but let's give you some tower rules. Anyway.
Hey, I understand the dichotomy, the dissonance of what I'm saying. And at the end of the day, I will step back. I'll go back to Orion. I'll go back to the Chantry. And you guys can figure out whatever you need to figure out. But if Decibel or Carbonera take over Dalton, there is no movement. There is no cause. There's nothing here. You will all burn.
He's already taken over. Just test it. Not to win. Besides the fact, you're bringing up all these other clans. Well, what about the Nosferatu? Looking at them.
I would love Muzan to bring in the other clans. I would love Muzan to bring in the Nosferatu because I respect the Nosferatu. The same way they have the Warrens, I have the Chantry. My Chantry encompasses all Tremere. No matter what their political alliances are, their dedication to the magic is absolute. With the Nosferatu, same thing. They have the Warrens. Despite some being members of the Anarchs, some being members of whatever, I think the best situation at the end of the day is that you, Concordia, are the Dom here. And yes, in my head, I will always call you the Prince because, well, there's really nothing you can say about what goes on in my head. But if you are the Dom, the Chantry, the Warrens, the Gangrel Pack will have a home here, and the Kidron will be strong. The Bahari are one step away from being Sabbat. And Decibel is several steps past that. He will lead us down an incredible path that will wield power and majesty and 100 other things, but it will also wield us squirrel bats and voids and horrors that will draw the hunters, the Inquisition, all of that down our heads. You're smarter than that. Muzan is smarter than that. I'm smarter than that. Hell, I even think Frost is smarter than that.
You know what's funny is you say you're smarter than that, and they're smarter than that, and you give your coterie a huge, prosperous compliment in saying that they are, at raw base, more intelligent than the Voified of the South. They are more intelligent than the would-be Alexander the Great of the Thornton Township. And for the first time, a realization dawns on you. Something that has been said 3 times this evening by Dia. Decibel wanted you all to go get a book from another dragon far to the north. What many don't realize and what immediately pops into your head as you consider what dragons are and what they were and how best to defeat them, because it has never stopped percolating at the back of your mind, Seth. Voivods are in many resorts, many places. around the world. The end-all, be-all when it comes to mystical, coldonic magic. Now, the style of magic says more about its user than anything else. It's just like solving certain calculuses. There are 7 different ways to get to the same point. None of those ways are invalid, but you have to know which situation best applies. Coldonic magic uses a lot of the same apparatus and steps as Hermetic magic, as blood sorcery. One of those being the idea and ideology of a grimoire used to store spells or access local ley lines or find points of egress through the shroud, or to teach newly embraced the basic steps to move forward in their understanding. It's also a contract between the originator of it and the ideology, the spirit, the essence of magic itself. And for the umpteenth time of it being mentioned, it finally settles on Seth what the Voivod was actually asking you all to do. What you all were being asked to obtain for him. What you all were being tasked with doing. How you would pay for your loyalty and trust and build a relationship with the Voivod from doing. You all would be divesting a potential enemy of a weapon of potential mass destruction. You would be stopping someone else from being able to instruct their children, or stopping someone else having a contract with magic. Or all of the above. And Muzan is back from the tunnels.
Hey everyone, we are fucked.
Oh, what else is new?
For you, I don't know, but for me, well, you know what? Let me dispense with the sarcasm. I paid a visit to the Rosie. The police commissioner there, Commissioner Stevens, decided to show up along with the man from whatchamacallit, Theist. Yeah, it's the fucking Second Inquisition. They're there. And apparently they have the faces of some people who may or may not have shot up some people not too far from here. Police cam footage. Now, I didn't go in front of any police cars. I made sure not to get in the way of those cameras. But they have some faces that they're trying to pick out and find. And as they put it themselves, it will not be a murder or big commotion in the streets. It's going to be disappearances. Yeah, they're after us. Muzan looks to Frost. Probably not you though, considering that Beast Boy over here has been pretty consistently a dog the whole time. But the rest of us, yeah, we're gonna have to lay low for a while.
Dia looks pale. She looks at her stomach and just kind of puts her head in her hands. The night had that gunfight on the roof. and I disabled squad cars that they couldn't chase us once you came down off the building. I'm almost certain faces they have. They're talking about our cameras. Which means they're going door to door, which those sorts of zealots often do. Me and Zach are even further in trouble than any of you.
Yeah, they did.
Laying low sounds entirely lovely to do right now. There are other things going on, like me being snubbed by the other toreadors.
Oh, lovely drama.
Somehow.
Yeah, I don't think you quite grasp the severity here. Being snubbed by the toreadors. Oh, yeah, hurt my feelings, whatever. Fucking Second Inquisition is hunting us down actively and trying to end us. That's serious shit.
You are not understanding. Yes, I fucking get it. Second Inquisition. Big stupid men with guns, I get it. But to a toreador, social standing is all we fucking have. It's our favors. It's who we have access to.
You know what else you have? Your own life. And just to clarify, these aren't, how do we put it? Stupid men with guns. These are smart men with guns. Very, very smart men with guns. Commissioner Stevens was the disciple of a very famous hunter that made Loden have headaches.
And
What do you suggest we do?
is twitchy.
Lay low. We can't be making big commotions like we've been making these last few weeks.
Oh, you don't fucking say. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is the Rosie?
Good question. What the fuck happened at the Rosie that caused those people to be there?
Hey. Stop yelling. Seth says in his...
I'm not yelling. I'm just talking in a slightly louder tone of voice.
Well, Seth is talking in his blood potency 2, visually not human tone of voice. Okay. I need to stay off the streets.
Yes.
Dia probably needs to stay off the streets.
And probably not be seen at the clubs because they mentioned that these people they were looking for, they've identified as being nightclub goers. So you and Zach should not be seen for a while.
Okay, so we need to pull back from Kyne's life. Is there anything we can do about the tunnels? Can we block them off in a way that is not going to look really fucking suspicious?
In a way that doesn't look suspicious? Probably not, but I can probably collapse a tunnel or two to prevent them from getting here. I didn't do it yet because they were literally still at the Rosie and the sound would have traveled all throughout the tunnels. They would have absolutely heard it.
Okay. So as soon as we can, we collapse as many tunnels as we can between Rosie 2 and us. I'm gonna stop hanging out with my cop friends for a couple of minutes.
You've been hanging out with cops?
I was a cop for 20 years. Where do you think I get all of my goddamn leads from?
Poor home training? Hookers?
Jesus, Dancer. You need to keep hitting on people, because obviously thinking is not your strong suit.
I beg to differ. Making people think I don't think is my strong suit.
Yeah, he's very successful at that.
What, the hitting on people or the thinking? 'Cause
Both.
Yes.
You'd be surprised what people let slip when they think you're a fucking idiot. Like you, hanging out with cops. It's a useful thing.
Hey,
It's
where
a
do you
useful
think
thing.
all my information came from, brother? I have to hang out with cops
Do you?
to make sure my Baron knows as much as she can.
Yeah,
But
you're
I'll-
hanging out with them, but why are you using them to help your Baron? Although I think you like being called Senator like everybody else in Dalton, right?
Titles are important.
Our lives are important.
Those are important too. I won't lie.
Just need to give Sybil what he wants. Had a good run. It's been 70 years. I think I'm fucking tired.
No, you don't get to quit. I did not.
You don't get to die.
Well,
Say so.
I did not put my ass on the line. I did not face off against the tower. I did not face off against the fucking chantry, so you can hide in a little fucking closet. If you want to not be the Baron or Prince, you need to tell me now.
Who's hiding in closets? I was talking about walking into the sunrise. Obviously, you're not paying attention.
You don't get to walk into the sunrise. I will fucking hamstring you with a fish hook and a long line of chain. You don't get to abandon us. More importantly, me.
So, Zach, your other place, the original Rosie, the Rosie 2, where is that at? Is that actually in Dalton?
One is in Dalton, one is in Riverdale.
So, the other one is in Riverdale. Which is outside the jurisdiction of Dalton.
Yes, and is a problem that needs to be dealt with.
Wouldn't it be better to deal with the problem hands-on by being there? Instead of...
And not being where the police have jurisdiction to investigate here? I think that's what the dancer was trying to hint at.
I mean, you know, you play the guitar, do a little singing. Dia does that whole speakeasy thing, singing. I think you would look fucking great. Long dress, gloves, spotlight, late night club. Muzan could be the bouncer. Seth could be the bar back. Frost there could be the short order cook, and I could be the host. I'll help people get to their tables, have a nice time. Imagine me glad handing everybody on the way in. Hey, good to see you again. Hey there, Frankie boy, how's it going? It'd be fucking great, and it'd be.
Yes, but the mess is below that, in the basement.
The basement is the basement like here, where it's really a club, where it is really the real club.
No.
Which means you'd have time to clean that up without anybody getting in the way. We can all, you know, die for the damn nice big fucking puppy pile.
Fuck it, I'm not seeing any other option.
Alright, so all in favor of temporarily moving shop to the Rosie 2.
I'm
Where
gonna
the
go
pumps
back
are?
my bags.
Oh, and we're probably also gonna have to bring the ladies along.
The who?
Going to the original
ghost?
Rosie. Rosie 2 is stacked 6 fucking deep in cops.
No, the Rosie is
We're going
stacked
to
deep in cops. The Rosie 2
the
is...
originals.
Wait, hold on. Rosie,
Rosie?
2 is the original.
Yes.
And
No.
Rosie is the sister location.
Yes. That's exactly it. So, have nobody been paying attention to the soap opera that is Zach's life? In the breakup with him, the voice and Drew and Sasha, he took the name, the Rosie. He opened the Rosie 2, which is actually the Rosie. The original Rosie became the Rosie 2 because they couldn't let go. All heartbreaking, clinging on like fucking suckerfish. Whatever you all
So
did
the
over there and killed them and took them out and lied about it just to the Silk girl that just left. Left the Rosie 2, which was really the Rosie original, but they didn't want to let go. Which is still owned by Zach.
Wait, we did not lie about what happened to Drew. He was alive when we left. I don't know what happened to him afterward.
Was he?
Not a lie.
Was he though?
He was alive. He was functional.
Was Drew the
And
guy
then
crucified?
Faustina and Drew
Oh, wow.
and Drew's girlfriend
Exactly.
cut him into fucking ribbons. So the Rosie, the actual Rosie's on the north side of what the fuck is that place called? It's on the north side of what's his face's territory. And the Rosie 2 is the one on the other side of the reservoir. We're trying to cut off access to the Rosie 2.
You did it again.
Reservoir.
How'd you do that?
Wait.
How'd you do that again? The original Rosie is now called the Rosie 2. That's in Riverdale. The Rosie, which is across the reservoir, is actually the second Rosie, i.e. Rosie 2. It's not that hard.
Okay. Hold on.
All right, everyone.
I have
stay
a much-
quiet. I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. So, the place that I just came from, where all the cops were swarming, and where we may or may not have massacred a bunch of terrorists,
Exactly.
was that the Rosie?
Yes.
Okay, and that is the one that is still in Dalton, correct?
Yes.
Right.
And the Rosie 2 is in Riverdale, so all
Yeah.
I need to do is cut off the tunnels to the Rosie,
Yep.
Right.
and it should be golden, right?
Yes.
You have to do it in such a way that the police are not going to want to try to dig through it. But other than that, yeah, you're solid.
Hey, werewolf boy, isn't that up your alley too?
What was that?
Isn't destroying stuff up werewolf boy's alley too?
I mean, maybe. I thought being a wolf was more up his alley. But I'm more than willing to just bring the ceiling down on the whole fucking tunnel.
I would say bring down the ceiling in more than one tunnel. Just fucking knock it out. So that anybody who's trying to dig through would have to spend a very long amount of time getting through it.
Okay. Well, like I said, easier way to remember it from now on. So we will refer to them as the Riverdale Rosie and the Reservoir Rosie. That way nobody gets fucking confused as to which Rosie we mean. Riverdale Rosie and Reservoir Rosie. Okay. Now, on top of that, this whole tunnel thing, if we're going to blow it up, we should leave, I guess, whatever methods to destruction set up this evening before we leave, so that in evening tomorrow it can be put into place before the cops decide to travel themselves down into the tunnels.
Wait, methods? I was just gonna knock it down.
I'm not going to, like, Mission Impossible explode it. You're going to knock it down how?
With these. And Muzan holds up his hands.
He's going to take out the vertical supports on the tunnel.
For being underwhelmed.
Look, it's marginally quieter than an explosion.
Explosions are more fun.
Add frost. No donut.
Donut? I'm a bounty hunter, not a cop. Well, I guess more of a bodyguard now.
And the difference between the two is what?
Take them to the tunnels at least 20 feet of length from the Rosie to the path that leads to the Biscuiteers. The cops will eventually give up.
Storyteller, when Muzan left, did the cops leave or were they still there?
They were still milling about, but the circus was dying down.
Okay. So, in that case, Muzan will say, alright, so when I had left, the activity over there was dying down. What I'm thinking is we wait for them to leave fully, and I am just going to knock the fucking tunnel down 20 feet thick, make them hate the idea of even having to dig through that shit.
And then in the meantime, we can pack what we need, and I can settle how business will be run while I'm not here, and we can ready the girls for that trip.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll all head out, maybe let Kalabamashi know where we're going.
He may have already foreseen this.
Maybe he has.
You know, that's the funny thing?
Man sees about 20 futures at a time.
You know the funny thing, as you say that, Zach, you absentmindedly look at the clock. And you realize that you could be at the Rosie, the Riverdale Rosie, in exactly with everything being planned out and plotted out, if everyone moves as if they have purpose, where you could be back in your original home, in your original haven, the Riverdale Rosie, in exactly 36 and a half minutes. At exactly 37 minutes, the 4 hours that Kalabalashi told you you would need to do your best would come to an end.
Alright. I think it would be best if we have you all move to the Riverdale Rosie before I collapse the tunnels. That way there's no risk of residual damage, shall we say.
You need my help collapsing the tunnels?
Sure. You want to come along?
Why?
The Riverdale Rosie has the cafe in the basement, right?
Yep.
That is a tomorrow evening problem, not a tonight evening problem. Tonight evening problem is getting the fuck out of here.
Seth is going to take the lead and try to talk to Cathay in his language. So he's going to try Chinese, Mandarin.
We're not there yet.
I'm not there yet. But what happens? Seth is the only person who speaks Chinese.
Righto. So, any last questions or concerns? Zach, you look like you were saying something.
I'm just gonna pack my shit and get ready to leave. Longest goddamn night of my life. And he just walks off looking peeved.
Muzan gives him the thumbs up. Excellent. Anyone else?
What, complaints?
Exactly.
I mean, I could use some food, but I'm good.
Yeah, we could all use a bite to eat, but that'll come later. All right, go ahead.
We removed the bodies from Zach's room.
I mean, I didn't. I was removing the bodies from the tunnels.
Oh, that might also be something that needs to be handled before we leave.
Yeah, maybe I can bury them in the 20 feet of rubble.
Well, probably more to this end, but they were well trained. I don't. Burial would be respectful, but I guess you have to do what you had to do in time of need.
Exactly.
It's amazing the way that things work out. A little less than an hour ago, you all were roughly at each other's throats about the most minor of inconveniences in that moment, without realizing that there was so much information you all each individually held that could have painted a far brighter and more detailed image of the night. As things shook out, you all moved from fighting like cats and dogs, like siblings with no parents in the area, to defending each other with the best tools available to you. And now, with little less than the time it takes to risk your lives braving the potential fallout of this being ambulatory during sunrise, you all are preparing to divest yourselves of Dalton. You all prepare the mortals, the matron of the house, and her staff to continue running things in your absence. You all do your best to ensure the safety and sanctity of the Pisketeers. And you all do a thing that kindred are naturally resisted towards. You embrace change. For the lot of you, for Zach and Muzan, there are bittersweet memories that are inescapable when going to the Riverdale Rosie. For Dia, knowing that it was once property associated and owned by Don Von Evan, one of the many places that have been bequeathed, so to rebuilt and reimagined by younger kindred, one of the many places where Von Evan's hand as the entertainment capital that Dalton once was, still shows through today. His bark is all through the south suburbs, and something that had not been thought of, or at least not addressed with any conscious thought, immediately comes into the fore. Nicole, her standing as senator of Dalton, she picked up nearly every available property that Von Evan formerly owned. She picked up most of those properties. Never said what she was going to do with them, but owning them had its own certain prestige within the clan. And those properties are still out there. All of the available properties of Don Von Evan, the former owner and operator of the Queen of Spades, where the last disco was held. So, with the idea of playing Monopoly not that far from the conscious thought, as the coterie settles at the Riverdale Rosie, as the connection between the Reservoir Rosie and the Pisketeers is severed, and you all begin settling into the wide, expansive, open floor plan of the basement of the Rosie. You all see the cages and the anchor points in the floor and the ceiling for chains. You see the various decoction, defusing, and infusing kits left laying. It is with no small amount of trepidation that the coterie, that the Pisketeers settle in at the Rosie. The sun in the offing, the tension of the night finally settling across their shoulders in a way that can't be released or faced down with more tension. It has been a long night with several 100,000 steps to get to this point. The silence is for you all to fill in what you all are doing as you're settling in to the Riverdale Rose.
So at this point, we've assumed that Muzan and Frost have already collapsed the tunnel?
Yes.
Okay.
And Zach's room has already been cleaned.
Yes.
One thing I'd like to mention is that before we bury the bodies in the rubble, Muzan will take the phones that they had, removing the batteries from them first, just in case they can be useful later. They were looking at something, and not sure if it's relevant to someone or not, but I'll just pocket them for later. While at the Riverdale Rosie, however, he is gonna pay a visit to his acquaintance from last time, the Cathian, if they're still there.
Diaz mostly is kind of wandering around the space and, kind of like how you're inspecting a hotel room, seeing dust and kind of, judging silently and trying to decide what would be useful for them and what's gotta go. Everything like eye hooks in the ceiling. Oh, we could potentially use those. Cataloging things in her brain because she needs something to do. She has some sort of feeling of control over, feeling like she's lost control between Silk and Decibel and all this other crap going on.
It's kind of nice in its openness, says Calabalarshi as he brings in one of Zach's boxes of things. I thought we'd stay upstairs, but if you guys want to settle down here in the basement, that's perfectly fine.
Speaking of upstairs, that's where Zach's going to see the changes made to his old apartment that he imagines were made.
Calabalarshi is present. He had thought that they would be off Carbonera's because he is coming to the basement to talk to the Cathay.
Like I said, I thought we'd all settle in upstairs. I've been busy. I got most of the stuff settled, and everybody's got a nice little space in a little room. It's not much. It's not like it was over at your old place. But remember, we got an arrangement. We got a deal. Year and a day, I get hospitality at your place. So you and me are roommates. How you doing, Bunky?
Dia was just about to say something about, like, she had literally had a finger raised, was about to say something, and then when he reminded her, he said her place and not the Pesketeers. She frowned.
There's a whole bunch of face palming going on the Seth side of things. He's headed towards where the Cathay were working, as described by Muzan. So he's going
you guys
down
are in the
there.
basement. Like I said, the only thing there are the anchor points in the ceiling and in the floor for chains. The set that was used to decoct and infuse the various tinctures and beverages. There's also a box still marked Muzan. Oh yeah, the old guy left that for you. You know that he was considered an administrator in the courts of heaven? Anyway, I forget how he said it. So, yeah.
You forgot how he fucking mentioned it? Oh, sweet Jesus.
Hey, you're going to point out my lapses of understanding? How'd you enjoy those 3 hours with the girls? The triplets? With the slithering tongues that stretch nearly as long as the arm. Do you remember the redhead that you kept calling that strange name you were saying she reminds you of your high school sweetheart? Do you remember that?
Dia stops and just stares at the two of them like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Do you remember what you did to her sister? Or at least can you remember what it tastes like?
I remember.
Do you?
Some things.
Uh-huh.
But Cathay is more important.
Than what you did to her sister?
Right now.
Oh my goodness, I've got to get them to send you that video. You are a wild man.
Muzan is gonna open the box that Larry left for him.
There are several bottles of plum wine. There's one bottle of very clearly, superficially, and extraordinarily aged bottle of rice wine. And there's one bottle formed from the skull of some humanoid creature. Inside is a small vial about 20 milliliters.
Muzan gives it a good whiff just to catch the scent of it.
Who has Hunger 3? Immediately roll Frenzy.
Holy shit.
I have hunger too. I am just outside the roll threshold.
blah 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 resolve plus resolve, right?
1/3 of your humanity plus your unspent willpower.
Oh, unspent. Hey.
Hey, Jesus Frost.
This is a dangerous weapon that Muzan is holding in his hand. Just uncorking it causes frenzy.
One.
This one's good. I don't know what it was, but it was good.
What's the difficulty?
3.
Hey, oh Jesus.
Hey.
Since it was a frenzy roll, you don't add hunger to it, right?
Gatorade once a month.
Frost immediately, his eyes immediately shift. Not as if there's changing shape or changing colors, nothing so obvious. But as he's looking around the dusty basement, doing his best to not actually focus on Calabalarshi, his eyes and face whip towards Muzan, and what's in Muzan's hand is if someone waved a flag or a cape in front of an angry, pierced bull. For the briefest of seconds, you all see Frost moving as quickly as he can to divest Muzan of everything he has, especially what's in his hand. But Frost is standing still. Though for the split second, you know what it's like to read someone's mind. There's a battle of control waging just beneath those very hairy eyebrows. One that you are thankful that the better, or at least calmer, version of Frost wins. The last time Frost really lost it, he divested Zack of their childer in the most gruesome and graphic ways possible.
As Muzan recalls, Larry said that these were very potent, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they could, like, make even powerful kindred drunk. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Muzan immediately puts the cap back on that bottle and puts it back in the box. And says, I assume, Frost, I think you need to grab a bite to eat. Because you are not in a safe state of mind right now for this vintage.
Sure, I agree with you.
Speaking of agreement and not being in the right state of mind, as Zack enters the apartment above the Riverdale Rosie, the memories that begin bombarding and washing and assailing and otherwise blurring the vision with vitae-tinged tears. It's the second place you and Drew said you loved each other and actually meant it. The fourth place you and Sasha and Drew said you loved each other and actually meant it. And now, the space that was so lovingly put together and designed and grown from the love and adoration you all had for each other is home to 5 cells. The rooms have been changed. There are 5 cells. They're not actually cells, there's no bars, but they are relatively devoid of style. They are, strangely enough, seemingly made out of actual stone. The windows, instead of being blacked out and painted over and taped over and repainted over, are brick with a mural painted on it. Still drying because you can smell the paint of Zach's bust. The flooring, so lovingly put in years ago, real, actual bamboo flooring, none of this false stuff that they use now. Real, imported, hand-cut bamboo flooring. Papered over with simple, high-traffic linoleum. The glue beneath it, relatively fresh. You can still smell it settling in. It literally looks as if someone has done a downcycling of the space. All of the cherished mementos that you were bracing for triggering painful memories are gone. All of the bric-a-brac that would remind you of a trip either to Milwaukee or San Francisco, or that one time you all actually made it as far south as Valdosta, and all of the spoons you all collected along the way, and all the laughs you had, all of that gone. And it's a shame, but there's also a feather in your cap. Calabalarshi has spent the last 4 hours eviscerating the past so that you all have a safe place to lay your heads, and so that you have a safe place free of all of the troubling, tragic, bittersweet memories of your time here.
And it's here that it hits Zach just how much Calabalarshi is royally bending over backwards for him, with little to no reason to do so. At least none that Zach is consciously aware of. And he investigates the surroundings more and then starts to step downstairs. And is in a state that makes it clear where he's not sure whether or not what Calabalarshi did with the apartment is a good thing or a bad thing. But right now it's leaning more towards good.
Seth has never been at home in his home in any real sense. He went from a crappy house while he worked as a detective to a crappy office while he was a detective. And now this space is better, quote unquote, than other spaces he's been in. It's just another space.
Well, whole exchange between Muzan and Seth and Calabalarshi was happening. Dia had indeed gone up the stairs and went to look for their own space, I guess, to claim and settle into.
And with everyone making themselves at home as best as they are able, finding some sense of security and sanity in this maelstrom of events, in this bright, shining change. In this moment, they have never been further apart or closer together. Each of them are now in a place and in a space that they have never been in before. Not to this extent. Not with these feelings, these accursed, weighty emotionality sitting on their chest, depriving them of air to breathe. Never before have they had anything on the line with as much value as they do now. And it makes of heaven a hell and a hell of heaven. The newness of their situation and their surroundings and what lay before them, how to achieve their goal of returning permanently home, of finding what that actually is, what home is, where they are, and how they might separate themselves from this soup that exists between them. The weight of all of those feelings. Each of you felt what Seth was denying and what he was hiding. The Catholic guilt putting responsibility over emotionality, while underneath it all, he was willing to tolerate the crappiest, most unemotional states because he was providing for those that he cared for those that he truly loved. So the places didn't matter as long as those others were safe. The thing that he didn't share out loud that each of you felt. The feelings right at the edge of understanding for Zach as they entered the spaces upstairs. The realization as to what this pack could be that washed over Muzan. And the feelings of knowing that all of this is worth it so long as nothing happens to your daughter. You're not sure where that thought came from, but you know that it is one of you all involved. One of you all knows that this is worth it, that this is just due so that you don't end up like your father. All of this is worth it so that no harm befalls your child. You're not sure who that was from, but you are 100% aware that it is one of you all. And with that realization, and with those thoughts bombarding the coterie, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely episode. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Good 99.
Right.